Hello everyone, it's Mark and welcome back. In this video I'm going to educate you about the Baker Act and specifically what the Baker Act is not. And what do I mean by that? Well, the Baker Act is a statute here in Florida, and we call it Baker Act because it's actually named after somebody who was named Baker. And the idea of the Baker Act statute is so that in an emergency situation, somebody is in need of immediate mental health services, specifically somebody who's suicidal, they're threatening to self-harm, right? We want to be able to pick up the phone, call 911, and then the police come down and they can detain the person. They're not arresting them, right? They're not placing them in the criminal justice system. They're placing them in the state's mental health system. So the police can arrest, which is the state's criminal system, and they can also Baker Act, which is the state's mental health system. And obviously, if they decide that the person meets criteria and needs immediate services, they can basically take custody of the person, place them in handcuffs, and then take them to a receiving facility. If they need a hospital, they get them transported to a hospital. But either way, when someone is Baker Acted, they become a temporary ward of the state of Florida, which effectively terminates their ability to make mental and medical health decisions for themselves. It also terminates the rights of anybody else, such as a healthcare proxy, someone who's been designated to make medical and potentially mental health decisions for this person. Those rights are terminated too, and everything is handed over to the state. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because we get a lot of calls from people who say, oh, I'd like to Baker Act my loved one. Well, why do you want to do that? Well, I want to get them assessed and then get them into treatment. Then don't Baker Act them. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the Baker Act is not designed to treat anything. The whole idea of the Baker Act is to assess, stabilize, and release. Now, does that happen in every case? No. And you know from, if you've seen any of my other videos, that the Baker Act is routinely abused here in Florida. In fact, we suck about 100,000 people every year into Florida's draconian and broken mental health system. But, you know, I've seen a number of instances, and this one call I just got was specifically the type of case where invariably what happens is that somebody thinks they're doing the right thing, and it turns out that they're doing the wrong thing. And they don't mean to do that. It's just that somebody gave them lousy advice. And more often than not, I'm afraid to say, somebody typically in law enforcement says to the family, you know, if you want to get your loved one assessed, go down to the courthouse and file your own petition, which you can do. You can go down to the courthouse and file your own petition for assessment. But what they don't tell them is, number one, it's not a treatment statute. Number two, if it's granted, everybody's rights are terminated, and basically the only person who gets to make decisions about this person is the psychiatrist who's in the Baker Act receiving facility, and there's no control over the treatment. There's no control over the medications. Who knows how long they'll be there? They could be in and out in 72 hours, or they could end up in a state hospital for 6 months. Either way, neither of those two options are going to get the person the treatment they need. And so the option, and this is an option I discussed with a very nice mom who just called us, was you need to file for guardianship. Well, can I go down to the courthouse and file for guardianship? No, you need a lawyer to do that. You need a lawyer to file for guardianship. And then you, as the guardian, right, as the legal guardian of this adult, can then start to make those decisions that you need to make, right? Placing them in treatment, making sure they take their medications. Maybe if there are resources like finances and property, we need to take control of that. Do we want to restrict their ability to travel? Do we want to take away their driver's license? Do we want to decide who they spend time with, where they live? I mean, all of these things can be controlled with a guardianship. Whereas if someone's Baker Acted, it's the state that's going to start making those types of decisions. And who knows how that's going to go? I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever seen anybody go into a Baker Act facility and come out any better. And when I get those calls from, you know, the state hospital, I mean, talk about one flew over the cuckoo's nest. I mean, we're talking cuckoo. I mean, we really are. You cannot believe how they treat patients there. It's an absolute disgrace. It's shameful. But this is Florida's mental health system, and it is draconian and it is broken, and which is why we fight like hell to get people out of the system. And FYI, I've had a family member that was placed in the system too, so I know what it feels like when this happens. And so, look, I appreciate, you know, especially if you come from another state, as this mom had, that you want to get your loved one help. But the Baker Act is not designed for that. okay? And if you use it like that and you get a judge to grant it, or you get a police officer that's willing to take your loved one, you're going to call me crying in about 72 hours, because either they're still stuck there and you can't get any information and have no control, or they're out and now they're mad as hell. Nothing has happened. Nothing's gotten any better. In fact, it's now worse. So please, I'm just trying to give you this information and educate you about what the Baker Act is not. If somebody is obviously looking to self-harm, they're suicidal, then of course, pick up the phone, call 911. That's what it's designed for. But it's not designed to get anybody treatment. It simply isn't. That's not what it's there for. So anyway, I hope that helps. If you have any questions or comments, please post them. I read all of them. I typically try to get back to people within 24 hours. And if you liked the video, I'd love a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. And with that said, I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.